Okay, so good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes. So, anyone tried any of the speaking questions? Hmm? Arushi, did you try?
Ma'am, actually I was sick, so I couldn't.
What happened to you?
I had fever.
Okay. Krishna, Shreyans,
Ma'am, actually, we have exam going on, me and Revati. So we
okay.
tried 2-3 questions after the class.
Okay. So you can try over the weekend. Yeah. So it's just like even when you are with your friends or you are practicing together, talking to each other, you can give each other a random topic and see how you can speak. Yeah, that helps. Shreyansh, how about you?
No, mama, I did not.
No? Once the class is over, everyone forgets. Hmm? So you have to keep practicing. If you start, it's not like you can mug up something at the last moment and appear for the exam. Yeah. Over a period of time, you have to keep improving. And unless you practice, how do you know how you are doing and where you have to improve? Right? So just make sure that you keep practice. And this is not something that will take 1 or 2 hours to practice. It's just random 5 minutes, even when you are maybe before going to bed, even when you're in the toilet, you can do that. Can't you? So there's like making time isn't a problem, but making up your mind to do it is a problem. That's what I say. So just make up your mind that you have to do it anytime. 3 minutes is all it is going to take to do a couple of questions. Right? Okay, so now did you have any sort of problem from last time? Any doubts? Hmm? No? So last time we did the agree disagree questions and the preference questions. Anyone remembers what the template of the preference question was like? Hmm? Before we move on, if you are given a preference question, how would you begin? Say, do you prefer X over Y? Miss Arushi, how would you begin?
With an introduction like I prefer this option.
Hmm. You can say, I prefer X over Y for 2 reasons. Yeah. So you have to make it clear that you are talking about 2 reasons. So begin with your opinion. I prefer. Then what's the next thing? What would be the next statement, Krishna?
Ma'am, next would be the first reason.
Hmm.
And we can start that like first of all, I would, and then the second reason, and we will continue with further more.
Yeah. So first reason, second reason, if you get time, then you will be putting in a conclusion, otherwise not required. Now, how do you expand the first reason? And that is for any of the any of the independent spinning class. How would you expand your first reason? Revati?
Ma'am, by giving an explanation and example
Explanation,
related to the
example.
reason.
And if you can't come up with an example, at least use a personal example. Yeah, that makes it easier to explain. So when you have a preference, what you are doing, you are actually comparing. So in the preference question, of the 2 points, you can have 1 point on why you prefer, why you like this. So or your point for that particular site. And the second point, what can you do?
Ma'am, we can put contrast. The
Contrast.
first reason.
So the why you don't prefer the other side can come in. Yeah? So we were doing certain topics. We've done this, right? Benefits of studying also we have done. Okay. Now we come to another preference type of question where you are given 3 choices. Yeah. So instead of just 2, you may be given 3 choices. Like if your question says your degree requires that you should choose a history course, which of the following courses would you prefer? Art history, 20th century world history, science history. So what do you have? You have a choice between 3. Yeah, 3 options are given to you. And then it goes on to the same thing, include details and examples to support your choice. Right? So if a question like this is given, what would you do? Same thing. There's no difference in dealing with the question. Yeah. Again, you will begin the same way. Now, here you would, instead of saying, I prefer, if you had just 2 options, say art history and 20th century world history, then you would say, I would prefer art history over 20th century world history. But now, since you have 3 options, you would say, I would prefer art history over 20th century world history or science history. Right? So you have to mention the other 2 options that have been given to you. And then you go on to explaining why you prefer one of these. So anyone wants to do this? So you can even have another format of the same question, where details may be given. So if you look at the second one, which of the following courses would you prefer? A course about art history, the study of objects of art in their historical development and stylistic context. So it is giving you the details about what art history is. So maybe you are confused, you don't know what art history is. They may give you some details. A course about 20th century world history, the study of critical understanding of major political developments. A course about science history, the study of development of science and scientific knowledge. Yeah. So whichever format you get, your strategy is the same. Yeah. Only the second format gives you a little context about what they are, and you can use the context in your answer also. So you can think about this. Take your 20 seconds to think.
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, here also we have to give 2 reasons.
Yeah, same thing. You choose any one of them, give 2 reasons with explanation and example. So just jot down 2 points. And remember, you won't get too much of time. So you have to be careful. Okay, who wants to start? Anyone? Hmm? Ayan?
Yes, I'm also there.
Would you want to speak on this? Yes, can you speak on this? I'll time you for 45 seconds.
Ma'am, I actually don't have 2 points.
Doesn't matter. So if you, now what is the point you have?
I chose the fourth one, a, a course about science history, the study of the development of science and scientific knowledge.
Okay, there's a third one. So it's
Third one.
science history. Yeah. So now if you have just one point to talk about why you like science history or why you would prefer science history, then what is the strategy you would apply? You can't think of another point, fine? So you will say why you would not like to take up art history or 20th century world history. Yeah. Okay. Now you can begin.
Did you give any template or anything to speak? Because I joined when you started the 3 choice question.
The template we had spoken about last time.
Same.
Same template. The preference question template.
Okay. I would prefer a course about science history, the study of the development of science and scientific knowledge for my degree, because I am interested in how science developed, uh, how science developed.
Any example?
About computers, like from basic computers to the modern age computers, how they develop, like that.
So how would you formulate your sentence? So if you say that I want to study science history, your reason is that you are interested in the history, in the development of science, for example, computers. Yeah. And then you go on to say, I would like to know how the first computer was developed. And then over the years, how how the software development took place. And you can go on. So this is something you know a lot about. Use that knowledge to put into your points. Now, what would the second point be? Give it a try. Now you said you don't have a second point. Yeah. Now, when you're talking about science history, you said I want to know about development of computers. Similarly, I also want to know about development of the theories in physics. Right? So you can pick up any one of the theories and say how did it develop? Or how was it proved and was it applied? It's easy. When you're talking about science, it shouldn't be difficult. Anything in science you can pick up and talk about. Right? Okay, let's see. Shreyans, how about you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So can you answer this?
I would prefer to study science history over art history and 20th century history because, first of all, science history is more interesting than the rest. It can, like, we know how the science theories were made and how they were discovered. And secondly, it will increase our knowledge on various science topics, and it will help us understand easily all those topics because we will learn about them from how they were discovered. So it will make us it will make us the topic easy to understand.
So Shreyans, in your answer, I was a little confused about which was your first point, which was your second point. Yeah. So it will help to use the template. Yeah. Now, when you spoke about another thing that okay, this is for everybody. We make these type of mistakes. When your question is directed towards you would not say we. Yeah. In that case, you will always use I. So I would prefer, this is your degree requires you to choose a history course. Yeah, so you are not generalizing. When it is specifically directed towards you, you would not be generalizing. Anyway, any of these preference questions is about specifically you. So always use I. I would prefer this over this. It would help me to because I would take science history course because I want to know about the development of science. Yeah. And Shreyans, another thing, you said we know how science developed, right? So why would you take up the course if you know how science developed? Can you go a little deeper into it?
No, by studying this, we will know how it was developed.
No, because you said your statement was we know how it developed, and by studying this, we will know about this like something you said. Yeah. So now, when you are forming your answer, this is where practice comes in. When you're forming your answer, be very, very specific. Yeah. So we know how theories of science develop, but this course will give us more deep and in-depth knowledge into it. That way you can formulate your answer. Revati? Same
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
Same question. Now you have had enough time to think.
Yes, ma'am. I prefer science history over art history and 20th century world history because, firstly, it will include breakthrough in research made in 19th, 18th, and 19th century, like discovery of radium by Marie Curie and electricity light bulbs by Thomas Alva Edison. And secondly, the technological development in the especially in 18th and 19th century because like refrigerators, TV, uh, radio, etc.
So you put in a lot of things. You would want to know the discovery of these things. Yeah. Did you give, were you clear about why?
Ma'am, I think the second point was just little similar to the first one.
Yeah. It was similar. So you can take up two specific things. So maybe the radium and the electricity bulb would have been your 2 points. Right? So you can go into details of radium and then details about the electricity bulb. So take up two things, go into details of each. Right? Arushi,
Yes, ma'am.
can I have your answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can begin.
For my degree, I would prefer to choose a science history course because of the two reasons. Learning about the history of science is fascinating and provides a broad understanding of the evolution of scientific knowledge. It also encourages critical thinking. I would also like to learn about uh, the significant milestones in the history of science, like development of quantum physics, and the theory of evolution in the 19th century.
Okay. So that was good enough. Now, instead of saying I would also, you can say secondly, because in the beginning you have said for two reasons. Yeah. So, firstly, second, you have to get used to the template for clarity. Now, if you say I also, maybe in the point itself you have used the word also. So it doesn't give clarity. Okay, that was your second point, or this is your second point. Right?
Yes.
So everyone knows now how to deal with the three choice questions. Not very difficult, same thing. Only you have to be a little careful about making it personal. Now let's go on to another of these questions. It says you need to accomplish an assignment for a presentation. Which one will you choose? Act out a scene from a play with a partner. Explain your review of a novel you recently read. Read a selection of poems. So you have three choices. You are asked to make a presentation. So there are three things that you can do. Act out a play, act out a scene from a play, if you like acting. And it also says with a partner. Explain your review of a novel you recently read, or just read a selection of poems. So go ahead, write your points. Okay, so everyone ready? Ready with your points? You can answer. Okay, Krishna, can I have your response?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll time you now. Yes,
I would
please.
much rather prefer acting out a scene from a play with a partner rather than explaining a review from a novel I recently read, or reading a selection of poem. Because of two main reasons. Firstly, I love acting, and as it is a perfect medium to express my creativity, which ranges from singing to dancing. So, along with acting, I would also have a stage to actually practice my skills. Secondly, I would make a bond with my partner, and we would spend more time together from rehearsing till the time to actually act out the play. And we will actually me and my partner will develop team spirit.
That was about 6 seconds over time. Okay. So now one thing, let me tell you all. When you have these three choice questions, you don't need to, when you are saying I prefer this over that, so in this case you don't need to state the complete thing that is written. Yeah, you can just say I would prefer acting out a scene from a play over reviewing a novel or reading a poem. Yeah, that's it. So the entire thing need not be read out. Okay, so Krishna, do you think you did well enough?
No, ma'am. I think actually I was a little too fast by the end. thing.
Huh.
I was
By the
speaking.
end, it was looking, because what you did was you expanded your first point too much. Yeah. So you have to keep an eye on your timer when you are practicing. So by the end of 20 seconds, you should be done with your, or at least 23 seconds to be exact. You should be done with your first point. So if you expand your first point too much and then you are not able to complete your second point, so here, by the time you completed your second points, you are taken 6 seconds more. And that 6 seconds, whatever you said, is not going to be recorded. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Arushi?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can we have your response to this?
Yes. I would prefer acting out a scene from a play with a partner for my assignment because of the two reasons. Acting helps in enhanced learning for a topic, as we have to analyze various things for the characters and their motivations and the overall plot. Engaging in this process helps us learn the material more, leading to a more profound comprehension of the play.
Are you reading from somewhere?
No, ma'am, I wrote it.
You wrote it. Okay. Any other point?
Yes, ma'am. Secondly, it gives us a confidence boost as acting helps reducing stage fright and helps us handle social situations.
So you had points, but one thing in your answer, was it personal? Your question says, which one you are given an assignment, which one will you choose? Now, the way you formulated your answer, it would have been a response to what are the advantages of acting, right? So you have to formulate when you're talking about a preference question, you have to formulate your answer in a more personal way. So why you would want to do it? So would you want to overcome your own stage fright? So you can use the same points, but convert it into a personal state, right? Instead of saying what acting helps in, what would you say then? Look at your points again and give me 1 point in a personalized manner.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Arushi, your first point.
Firstly, acting helps in enhanced learning and deeper understanding of the characters and the overall plot and better comprehension of the play. Secondly,
Okay, just a second. Now, the statement you gave me is acting helps in. Can you make it personal? Convert, just bring yourself into it. How would you say that I like acting because? So you can say I like because I would prefer acting out a scene from your play because I like acting. Yeah. So you have the because of the following reason. Firstly, I like acting because it helps me to express myself. And then you can add the little point that you had. Yeah. Now, what was your second point?
secondly, acting helps in confidence boost and
So
and
how would it, okay, how would you convert that into a personal statement? You just have to bring yourself into it. Yes, Arushi?
Yes,
So just add me, I to it.
acting gives me a confidence boost when uh,
And how will it help you?
acting gives me a confidence boost as it helps to overcome stage fright and handle various social situations.
Good enough. So remember, don't give generalized questions when they are asking personal opinions or personal preferences. Yeah. Yes, Revati, you were saying something?
Ma'am, I had a question.
Hmm.
Ma'am, is it okay if both of my points are contrasts to my actual selection, to my actual
Okay.
choice?
Can you give me your answer?
Yes, ma'am. I would rather prefer to read a poem than to review a novel or act out a scene because, firstly, acting would require a lot of preparation, energy, and time, and also my timing preferences might clash with my partner's. And secondly, reviewing a novel would require me to deep dive into the hidden meaning of each and every character's plot, etc. So, I would rather read a selection of a poem.
Now here you can use the contrast points as your second point. Both of them together can go into your second point, but one has to be for. So your first point should be for why you are choosing the selection of poems. So are you choosing the selection of poems just because you don't like the other two and you don't have any other option? There has to be something for it. So you can say, I would rather read a selection of poems because I like reading poems. It may not be true, doesn't have to, though your answer, remember, doesn't have to be right or wrong. They're just testing you on how you speak and how confidently you can put forward your point. And whether you can use proper sentence structure even when you are speaking. Yeah. So just that much you have to remember. So if you say that if you are choosing a selection of poems, so a point for that. So maybe you can say in school I have read a lot of poems as my coursework, and they help me in, and I can analyze the poems besides just select. I love reciting poems because I have been participating in education competitions. Even that can be a point. Yeah. And then you can go on to the other side. Okay, Krishna, would you want to try this one? And then we will move on to another question.
Ma'am, I actually tried this one.
Okay, you said it. Okay, we'll move on to another one. So we'll get a little more practice on questions. Here is another question. Which of the following qualities will you value the most when selecting a roommate abroad? Quietness, cleanliness, or friendliness? Include details and examples to support your choice. Now the same question same questions can come with two choices. Yeah, whether it is two choices or three choices, your work is the same. Okay, done. That's all you get to prepare. Who wants to speak? No one wants to volunteer. Shreyansh, how about you?
Ma'am, I was just thinking about my second point.
You won't have so much of time to think. You have to start thinking fast. Okay, you have 1 point. Start with 1 point. While you are speaking, you will get your second point. Go on.
When I'm selecting my a roommate abroad, I would like him or her to be friendly over whiteness or cleanliness because of two main reasons. Firstly, without friendliness, there won't be a bond created between us, and that bond is important because we'll be living our each and every day together. And secondly, if the roommate is quiet, then there won't be communication effectively. And I will need that roommate to like get me familiar with the country that I'm living in. Yeah, that.
Okay, that's all. You still had 5 seconds. So your
That
first point you expanded. Now the second point, anything else coming to mind?
I can give an example that
Hmm.
like he or she could help me to uh, see like popular places in the country or
Yeah.
give me a
So
tour of
now
the place.
friendliness, if he is too quiet, it would be difficult to communicate, you say. Yeah.
Yes.
So to that you can add that I am a rather talkative person and it would be very difficult to get along with a quiet feeling. Simple? Yeah. Okay, Ayan, do you want to try?
Yes, ma'am, but I also don't have the second point.
Doesn't matter.
Expanded.
You start with your first point and then you can think of why you would not like something else. Now you have 3 options here. Yeah. Now they haven't said that which one quality you would want your roommate to have. If you read the question carefully, 2 points are not difficult to get over here. You can just talk about 2 qualities. Yeah, or you can talk about all 3 also. Which of the following qualities will you value the most when selecting a roommate abroad? So you can say the one you value most can come first, and then you can go on to the second quality. Yeah, like maybe you value cleanliness the most, so you want your roommate to be very particular about cleanliness. And then secondly, you can say I am a friendly person, or you can say I am a quiet person. Yeah, so these two are contrasting characters, and cleanliness stands out. So you can give it a try.
Okay. I would prefer my roommate abroad to be more friendly rather than being quiet or clean. Friendliness is important for a good relationship between us, as we would spend the most amount of time with each other. Also, being clean, my roommate being clean is also an important quality or quietness. As if my roommate is more quiet than clean, I would spend most of my time explaining to him that he should also keep his room clean or keep the apartment clean.
Okay. Now the first point was good. Second point you got a little confused. Yeah. So whether initially you said friendliness over cleanliness and quietness because friendliness is most important. Now, if you are going to talk about it, if you have a question like this, you can say friendliness is most important. And then your second point can be that cleanliness, I also value cleanliness, and that is also important to me. And then you need not touch on all of the points. So maybe you can just leave out quietness. Yeah. So any 2 points is more than enough. Okay, let's have a look at another question. It says, which of the following do you consider as a best technological invention for students? E-books, smartphones, or online classes? That's something you are all very used to or experienced with. Remember, just 15 seconds to prepare. That's almost over. So in 15 seconds, how many points can you think of? Arushi, how many points could you think of in 15
I
seconds?
would think 2 points.
You could. Okay. Ayan,
1 point.
1 point. Okay. Krishna,
Ma'am, 2 points.
you got 2 points. Very good. Shreyansh, did you get 2 points?
Yes, ma'am.
Revati?
Ma'am,
Yes,
two.
Revati. You got 2 points. So Revati, can you answer this question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would prefer online classes to be the best technological invention over ebooks and smartphones because, first of all, because of online classes, education has reached to everyone and everywhere. And for example, we have not missed school for a single day, even when COVID pandemic was going on. And secondly, we can study from our comfort of our home. For example, it was very easy for me and my sister to study from home without wasting time in traveling.
So anything about the others? You still had 8 seconds left.
Ma'am, I
Did
could
you have
have.
two clear points?
Ma'am,
Or was it just the extension of 1 point?
I don't know. I think it's
Hmm?
extension of the
Yeah, it
first
was more
point.
about extension of the first point. So when you think that, okay, the point you have doesn't seem to be, the second point doesn't seem to be different from the first point, what can you do? Move on to the other options. Yeah. So now it says, what do you consider as the best technological invention? So you said online classes is the best invention. Now, if you think about ebooks or smartphones, do you think that they are good enough inventions for students? Or are the disadvantages of the two? Yeah, that can be a second part. Okay, let's. Krishna, you
Yes,
want to
ma'am.
answer this?
Yes, ma'am. I would much rather prefer smartphones over ebooks and online classes because of two reasons. Firstly, smartphone help us to actually attend online classes and also read ebooks. It will help us to quickly solve our doubts with the help of Google and connect with our teachers. Secondly, for students, feeling fresh is more important, and I actually call my friends whenever I want to feel fresh. Therefore, I would prefer smartphones over online classes and
So when
ebooks.
you say call my friends, can you use a different word? Can you introduce it? So that is an example. You want to feel fresh. So what would be something to put that point forward? You could say overall smartphones help us to keep in touch with our friends. That
Yes.
would be a better way of expression. Okay, anybody else wants to talk on this topic? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Ma'am,
Yes, Shreyansh.
I would choose online classes over ebooks and smartphone because of two main reasons. Firstly, without online classes, the 2 years of the pandemic would have been wasted and the youth would have lagged behind. And secondly, the during the pandemic, smartphones were not the primary source of getting education, but laptops were. So laptops were used to uh, join online classes, which was beneficial for the students. So that's why I would choose online classes over smartphones or email.
Now, if you read this question, is it talking about you choosing any of these, or which are the best options according to you? Hmm? So when you have this type of question, which is not telling you which would you prefer, it says which do you consider as the best technological invention. Here, the format of your answer will change a little bit. Instead of saying I prefer this over that, you would say I consider this better than the others. Right? And when you said, okay, you said online classes and smartphones were not better. Fine. That will also. So we answered all this. I said the template is also more or less the same. So if I had to choose between, so now you can begin with that, or you would just say I would prefer, right? And then you go to the details. The first reason, second reason, or furthermore, and alternately, like many of you did, you can choose, you can say why you did not choose the other two options. Yeah, that's what we already did.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, I have written many points here, but I am not actually able to cover them properly. What to do? I mean, I have
Practice.
missed so many points while speaking.
So that doesn't, that's okay. That will require practice. You write down 5 points. Then then you consider like which of the 2 points should you begin with.
Ma'am, also I stutter a lot. Like I'd say in between.
You will, because see, that's why I have been harping on practice. If you practice every day, by the end of the week, you will find that all these problems have disappeared. Yeah, you do 2 questions every single day. Yeah, record yourself, and then you see, okay, did I say this properly? How many times did I stutter? Next time you will be conscious about it, right? So by the third day, you will, when you listen to your recording, you will find that instead of 5 stutters, there are only 2 stutters. And just 2 stutters is just absolutely fine. Yeah. Okay, here's an example of the question that we did. If I had to choose between art history, 20th century world history, or science history, I would always choose art history. Yeah. To begin with, my favorite type of museums are art museums. I enjoy looking at the art and trying to interpret how people were feeling or what they were doing through at that time. Yeah. So first point, explain. Second, compared to traditional history courses, art history can give a different perspective on a certain period of time. Rather than hear facts and figures, art history courses give you the opportunity to see how common people felt in that time. Yeah. So if you see, the two are similar points, but at least dealt with differently. The examples are different. Right? Now, when you realize that you have 2 similar points, what do? Expand a little more to bring clarity. Yeah. For example, people who lived through the war may paint scenes of how traditional towns were rather than hear about fighting and conflict like you would do in history. Yeah. So it is also covering that instead of just 20th century world history or just world history, it would be art history and the now if you convert now here Arushi, you can see how this particular response has brought in the me factor or the I factor,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So if the I factor was missing, what would it be? That art, like art museums, looking at art, and you can interpret how people were feeling at that time, right? So instead of that, it becomes I enjoy looking at art and trying to interpret how people were feeling. So when you get yourself into it, it becomes personalized. Yeah. So this was one. These are the two reasons I would prefer. So if you see, you can use a conclusion. Maybe you forgot to say that for two reasons in the beginning. And if you have time, you can conclude with these are the two reasons I would prefer to take an art history. Right? Here we have another example where it was your degree requires to take one course, similar one. And here we have energy and environment, health and nutrition, and solar system. Right? Now let's see how this response deals with the topic. So it says, I would choose health and nutrition classes for two main reasons. First, I deal with nutrition every single day when I'm trying to make healthy choices for my body. I'm sometimes uncertain of what the best foods are, the most nutritious. A healthy and health and nutrition class would surely ease that trouble and help me make choices that are good for my body. Now, if you look at this point, it's a simple point. Maybe when you don't come up with points, how do you begin? Begin with yourself, personal experience, right? Then now the second point goes on to why this student is not interested in the others. Second, I am not very interested in sciences, so I don't think an energy and environment or solar system class would be very intriguing to me. I would rather take classes that excite me rather than the class that I was totally disinterested in. Yeah. So dealing with one point, you don't have another point, go into why you don't like the others or why you would not prefer the others. Right? So this is a simple format of, and it goes on that. So for these two reasons, I would choose to take health and nutrition class rather than this. So now this particular statement, you can either begin with it or you can end with it. Either way is fine. But if you begin with it, it is better. Why? If you are expanding your points and at the end you don't have time for a conclusion, then that will go missing. Yeah, so the clarity I would prefer if you use this as your introduction. So this can go first and then you move on to your 2 points. Right? Now let's go on to another question type, which is the if imaginary question. So this is usually a hypothetical situation. And here it is not about choosing between two options. So let's look at a question. If you have a small amount of money, would you spend it right away or save it? So again, yes, you have two choices. You can express your opinion also. Maybe if there is a question where your opinion is asked for. So how would you deal with this? So you can begin with one side and then go on to the other. Or if you have two reasons for the same side, then you can use two reasons for that. Any way would do. Anyone wants to try this?
Ma'am, what's the difference between these type of question? I mean, we have to say 2 points for one topic or
Anything. I'll hear your responses first and then we will go on to discuss what exactly is the difference. I want to see how you would deal with it. Think about it. It's simple. If you had a small amount of money, what would you do? So think about, say, a pocket money you get. How do you use it? How would you spend it? So it said, would you spend it right away or save it? There are two options. Spend it right away or save it, and you give your reasons for that. So anyone wants to answer?
Ma'am, can I try?
Yes, please do it.
Yes, ma'am. I would rather save the money, a small amount of money, than spend it right away, because first of all, saving money would if I save money, I might use it for future, for studying, medical bills, or for any emergency that might come on my way. And I would not spend it right away, because I usually don't know where to spend the money, and I might also spend it at wrong things which I don't need.
Okay, you have good points. Anybody with different points? Ayan, do you have points?
Only like slightly different, overall the same.
Okay, so what is the slightly different?
For me, I wrote that I would invest it, so later on it will grow a little bit and I can use that.
Okay, that's good. So you are moving into saving. Yeah.
Yes.
So now another question that is there is, if you would invent something new, what would that be? Explain your answer. So it's about inventing something new. What would that be? So this is a completely open-ended question. You can go wild with your imagination. What do you want to invent? But you have to explain the why.
Does the thing we would like to invent be actually possible, or it can be completely fake or something like that?
Could be something which is not possible, but you think you can.
Okay.
Because this is a hypothetical situation. It need not be real, but as long as you can convince the listener that you can do it and why you would do it. So anyone wants to speak on this? Shreyansh, you haven't spoken for a long time.
And I was actually doing for the next one, the land.
No, I told you to do this. Now the next one.
I did not think for this one.
You don't have any points for this? Hmm? Okay, I'll come back to you. Think of a point. Ayan, do you have points?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please go on.
If I was to invent something new, I would probably invent a device which can read facial expressions and tell me what the person in front of me they are thinking or feeling. It could also probably read their thoughts or something like that. So I could benefit of it in some cases, or it could also help them uh, in like therapy or some case like that.
So you can go into a little more specific on that when you're talking about a device which can read facial expressions. How would it be beneficial? In which cases, say, for people who cannot express themselves or cannot speak, or maybe people who are in a medical condition where they have no senses, yeah, they cannot talk or even listen, but they can think. Yeah, so you can use that. So Shreyansh, what are your
Yes,
points on the land? Your question is, imagine that you have received some land that you can you can do anything with. What would you do?
if I received some land that I can do anything with, I would prefer to open a lithium factory as uh, because of two main reasons. Firstly, lithium is the primary thing which would be needed in the future because it is used to make batteries and it is also called white gold. And secondly, it would bring in a lot of income because it will be the thing which is needed mostly in the future. And yeah, that's all.
So when you say you want to build a factory and then you come to income, can you add something to that? Because that was not expanded well enough.
Opening that factory could also help India to prosper
Yeah,
because
it could
it
help
will,
in generating employment and exchange of technical
yes,
know-how. That can also go in. So
yes,
when you are talking about something which is technically of that level, go into the details of, right? Okay, and another thing for all of you, in your answers, don't use phrases like something like that. Yeah. So the general, like you're not sure of what you're talking about, avoid those phrases. So now let's see what is required for this. Now, more or less, you express your ideas, but there are certain things which will help you to frame your sentences properly. Yeah. So first thing is, this is a conditional state. Yeah. If imaginary. Now, when you have studied about conditional verbs in SAT, do you remember? When you use conditional like if, what do you use as a verb? If I were to do this, I would or I could. Yeah. So definitive verbs will not be used. Right? Oh, by the way, did you all get your SAT scores? Revati, what's your SAT score?
Ma'am, 1440.
Oh, that's quite good. Who else? Krishna?
Ma'am, 1410.
Okay, Krishna, you had done it earlier. Anybody else who appeared for the October one? Ayan, did you appear for the October one? Okay.
No, I did the August attempt.
You are doing?
I did the August one.
You did the August one. So are you taking it again
Yeah,
in December or March?
December.
December. Who else got those scores now? Shreyansh, did you take the SAT or you are still to do it?
Yeah, I took it on
You,
October.
you took it in October. What's your score?
1240.
12. Arushi, you haven't taken the SAT as yet.
I took the August attempt.
You took the August attempt. So what was your score?
1240.
12. Are you planning to take it again?
Yes, ma'am. In December.
Okay, so now let's move on. When you have a conditional statement means it may happen. Yeah, so you will not use words such as will. Yeah, got it? So if you have that if you get a small amount of money, what would you do? You will not say, if I get a small amount of money, I will invest it. What would you say rather? I would invest it. If I were to get a small amount of money, I would invest it. Yeah. So if you look at a conditional sentence, it can begin with if, then go on to the subject, that is I. Simple past tense. If I work, then you go on to the subject. Like if I were to get a small amount of money, then I would or could or might. And then you go on to your verb, what you would do with it. So that's the structure of sentence that you would be using. Right? So if is followed by work, like if I had a small amount of money, I would choose to save it for a number of reasons. So what are you getting? Would. If I had. So here, if I were given, if I had, I would. So you will not use will. Will is not allowed in a conditional statement. That much you have to remember. Now the conditional questions are not very common, but still, never know, they can give you. So you would begin with, if I dash, I would. If I had a small amount of money, or if I were to get a small land, then you go on to then it's the same thing. The first reason, the second reason. Right? Only you have to remember to use would or could. I would invest, or I could invest, or I might invest. Yeah. So let's look at this question. So this is the one of, if you had a small amount of money, would you spend it right away or save it? So you begin with, if I had a small amount of money, I would save it. That's easy. The first reason is I grew up in a family that prided themselves on having money in a bank, so it is easy for me to save money. Second reason is, if there was an emergency and you would need some money, if you saved it, you would be okay. However, if you did not save it, you would be in trouble. So this person would have been a little confused. In addition, it's more important to save money and pay off your debts rather than waste your money on something useless. So if you look at this, this response, it begins with I and then it goes on to you. Now that is a flaw in this response which should be avoided. So if you begin with I, Entire sentences about I, with I. Entire response would be with I. Okay. Now the next type of question is description or explanation type. Now in the description or explanation, you are given a statement and you have to talk on it. So yes, you can have an opinion attached to it, but it won't be a preference or agree or disagree type. So maybe describe a certain type of person or explain something. So your opinion and reasons can come. Let's look at this one. Do you think bicycles will still be widely used in the future or replaced by other means of transportation? Use reason and specific examples to support your opinion. Now, here, this is a variation of the agree-disagree question. Yeah. So if you see, what are the two? Now, here again, you have to first figure out what are you comparing or what is it asking you to do. It says, do you think that bicycles will still be widely used in future or replaced by other means of transport? So it's about transportation, bicycles versus other means. So you can try this question. Anyone ready with the points?
I am.
Yes, Shreyas, please. You can begin.
I think that bicycles will be still used as a means of transportation and will thrive alongside other transportation because of two main reasons. Firstly, they are very eco-friendly and they are sustainable. And so that because of this reason, they could contribute to reduce the carbon footprint. And secondly, due to the growing population, the roads are getting very congested. So bicycles could be used as a means of short transportation and would like overcome the traffic easily.
You still had about 7 seconds. Right? That's okay. There's no problem if you end 3 to 4 seconds before the time is over. So you had two reasons. Anybody else wants to try this? Arushi?
I have only one.
You have only one point. Okay. Go on.
I think that bicycles will be replaced in the future because of urbanization and changing lifestyles, preferences for transportation modes have changed. According to convenience and comfort of the people, and more advanced vehicles will be used in the future rather than bicycles.
So now if you see, you actually had 2 points.
But I could not expand.
Yeah. So you can expand on the point of convenience. Why would other means of transport be more convenient? You can talk about urbanization when you are saying, then urbanization means traveling long distances. Think of the city you live in. Would you be traveling to work on a bicycle if you are living far away? Yeah. So when you get stuck, think of personal reasons that why would you do this? It becomes easy to get your points. Okay. Anybody has different points? No one? Okay. Now we can move on to the next question. What is an important benefit that an employer can offer to make sure employees are happy and healthy? Now, this is a general statement, but you have to dig into the reasons. So what is it talking about? Important benefit that the employer can offer and why? To make the employees happy and healthy. So there are two parameters, happy and healthy, and what are the benefits they should give. So you will, and they said, explain your answer. So when you say explain your answer, you give your reason and example. So reason 1, example, reason 2, example. So what would make employees happy and healthy? Okay, time up. Anyone wants to answer? Revati, you go on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, do we have to mention only one important benefit?
2 points.
Okay, ma'am.
Firstly, secondly.
The two important benefits that an employer can offer employees are firstly long weekends. Employees need long weekends so that they spend their time with their family and friends, so that when the weekend gets over, they can come with a fresh mind and also focus much on their work. Also, for example, my father, when got long weekends, used to spend more time with us. And secondly, employers should provide counselor to the employees so that they can confide to the counselor, and also improve their mental health and reduce stress. You reduce stress at work.
So you expanded your first point quite a bit. And when you came to your second point, you couldn't complete within the time.
Yes, ma'am. I think
Yeah.
the explanation was quite a bit, and then I was not able to fit in the
No,
example.
actually, you had repetition. So if you think about what you said, there was repetition in what you said. Yeah. So that's where planning and thinking about what you want to say helps. So, and that comes, of course, with practice. So the 2 points were good. Anybody with any other points? We'll come to the template because, okay, before we go on, Revati, do you think you began properly?
No, ma'am. I think I took it as a preference question, something like that.
No, you
Like,
just
should
said
have.
that there are two benefits that
Yes,
they should
ma'am.
accrue.
Like that.
So when you're dealing with these, always like this can be dealt with like an opinion question, or you can just say according to me. So begin with something to open with instead of just jumping into the statement.
Yes,
Yeah?
ma'am. I realized that after I started speaking.
Yeah. So there's another question here. Should schools encourage character education and develop the morals and values of students? Use reasons and specific examples to support your opinion. Now, if you look at this question, how is it framed? If you break it down, what does it say? Ayan, what is this question asking you?
Should schools encourage character education and develop the morals and values of students?
So it's
And so-
talking about the school's role in this case, in this. So on character education and developing morals and values. So you can say how, so you can talk about the why and how schools can do that. So in your journey through schools, there may be some cases where you think that why are schools so interfering in our character? Or you can think that, okay, all the lessons we learned in school were helpful. So you can use those points to answer this question. Anyone with it? Krishna, how about you?
I'm not written the second point.
Okay, doesn't matter. 15 seconds are over. So in 15 seconds, if you have written one point, you can at least begin with it. But in your exam, you can't tell you can't say that when the beep comes now, you begin to speak. You can't say I haven't written a second point. Yeah. So no matter what the situation is, at least you begin. Now you have to get used to that also. Because while you are speaking, the second point should come to you. Yeah, if you get used to that, you won't have any problem. Okay, begin now.
Yes, schools should encourage character education and development of morals, because of firstly, good morals and value education will help the students in future in many of the experiences which they will many of the experiences and challenges which they will face when they grow up, like in jobs. And I think that's the only point I have written. I
It's
wanted
okay.
to give an example, but I can't think of that.
You already gave an example. Okay, let's see who has some more points. Arushi,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have some more points?
Yes.
Okay, you can answer this.
Schools should encourage character education and morals because of the following reasons. Character education helps in personal development and building social skills such as empathy, teamwork, and communication, which will be very helpful in the future. Uh,
Anything else? Okay, so your time is also. So did you have any second point written down? You had only one point?
yes.
Right, no problem. We'll just try. This is a different type of question. If the police stop a driver who is driving drunk after drinking alcohol, do you think that the person's driver's license should be taken away? Now, one thing remember, the questions that you may get can be on anything in the world. There's no restriction to what type of question you will get, and this is something you come across quite often.
Ma'am, in the previous question, should I start like schools should encourage character education, or like it should be, I think schools should encourage?
I think, or according to me. Yeah. So in this one, do you have any points? Okay, let's see. In 15 seconds, how much you can think and give me some points. Ayan, can you talk on this?
Just few more seconds.
Yes. Few more seconds. You don't have few more seconds.
Okay, then I'll speak.
Yes, you can start.
Yes, I think the driver's license should be suspended if they are caught drunk driving. It is a more strict form of punishment than fines, which can be paid and forgotten. The driver can't drive for a certain period of time while his license is suspended. So the driver repents his mistake and hopefully won't repeat it again. That's why I think the license should be suspended.
Did you have 2 points or 1 point?
1 point.
One. Can you think of another?
Maybe after multiple such, maybe after multiple times he is caught, then his license will be cancelled or something.
So you can give a reason that why it should be done. So is it a preventive measure? Will they be scared?
Yes.
So that could be a point. Yeah. Anyone with any other point on this? Revati? Yes, Shreyansh?
Yes, ma'am. I
Yes,
think
go on.
that when police stop a driver who is driving, that person's driver license should be taken away because firstly it would set an example for other people who would drink and drive, and secondly it would ensure the safety of public by preventing any further accidents, and also taking the license away would show that drunk driving is a more serious offense than it looks. And yeah,
Good. You had 2 points. Maybe they could be expanded. Okay, now let's look at the template for this question. Yeah. So you begin with, in my opinion, or I believe, or even you can say, I strongly or firmly believe. Yeah. So anything can do depending upon the question. Or in my view, whichever. Now you can, for all these type of questions, stick to one template. That no matter what no matter what the question is, you begin with, in my view. Or if you're treating it as the agree disagree question, in my opinion. So you are more used to the agree disagree question, maybe in my opinion is easier for you to deal with. Or as far as I am concerned can also be used, but it is better to keep it simple. And then you go on with your first reason, first of all, furthermore, conclusion, or no conclusion whatsoever. Right? And another thing, when you are speaking, try to avoid using following for the following reasons. Yeah, following is usually used when you are writing. When you are speaking to somebody, do you say following? Do you, Ayan?
Sorry.
When you are conversing with somebody, do you use the word following?
No.
Suppose you want to tell your friend not to study hard and you are giving him two reasons, would you say you should study hard for the following reasons? No, right? So don't use following when you are speaking. Following you can use when you are writing, but not speaking. Okay, I hope you remember that. So this is your template. Only difference here is the beginning. Now, if you notice, all the questions or all the types of questions rather, it's only how you begin that differs, and that's where they're going to catch you. Yeah, they want to see whether you can deal with a question properly or not. Yeah. So when you say, in my opinion, it could be a agree disagree question or a description explanation question when two sides are given to you, or you can say, in my view. Yeah, the easiest or simplest is in my view, or maybe, or in my opinion, both of them can be used. Now, I strongly believe when it is something, a very strong opinion has to be conveyed, then you can use I strongly believe. Otherwise, simple practice with in my opinion or in my view. Got it? Let's go into an example. Say, in my opinion, not all university students should be required to read the same book before entering their first year of study. Or, in my view, bicycles will become obsolete due to the emergence of other means of transportation. Yeah? Simple. Now, if you're using as far as I am concerned, as far as I am concerned, the most important benefit that an employer can offer to make sure employees are happy and healthy is a great healthcare package. Or it is my belief that it should not be a requirement that all college students take at least one philosophy class. So when you are dealing with the explanation question, it is more or less like the opinion question, the agree disagree one. Yeah. Let's look at a question. Should schools have teams for sports that might carry a risk of serious physical injury? So you people can try this question before we go on to a response. So your preparation time was that much. You can begin to speak now. Arushi, will you try this?
Yes, ma'am. I don't think that schools should have teams for sports that carry risk for serious physical injuries. Schools should implement strict safety measures, proper coaching, and equipment to minimize risk of injuries. Schools should offer sports that match the skill level of all students with proper training. Secondly, parents and students should be well informed about the risks associated with that sport, along with clear guidelines.
So now when you came to what you said was your second point, when you came to secondly, do you think you did justice to your second point? Arushi, are you there? Arushi, I think you have a network problem. Okay, we'll get back to Arushi. Anybody else wants to try? Revati, do you want to try?
Okay, ma'am. Uh, schools should not have, according to me, schools should not have teams for sports that might carry a risk of serious injury because, first of all, it might hinder the study schedule if the student is seriously injured. For example, student might not be able to continue the study pattern and might fall behind in the semester. Second is that such sports might cause serious permanent damage to the body of the student and might uh, and the student might not be able to complete the education. My second point is like half done. I was thinking and
Alright.
I was suddenly
See,
told this.
the point of these questions is like you could speak whether you can speak extempore without preparation, right? So you have to get used to, like, even if you have in 15 seconds, how much can you prepare? You can't write down a complete answer. You can't even think of actually two complete points. So you have an idea of what you want to say, you begin, and then you move on. Like when you are talking to a friend, do you think and write down before you speak? No, no. The same way, you begin speaking and the flow should come while you are speaking. So if somebody asks you that do you want to do river rafting, what would you say? I don't want to. Yeah. What reasons will you give? Or if somebody says you have a chance to do rappelling without safety gear, what are the reasons you would give? Think of it that way. Why you will suddenly say no? Why should I do this? If you are asked why would you not do it, then you would give 10 reasons of not doing it. Right?
Ma'am, like I am able to write the 2 points, but by the time I'm thinking of how to expand it, the time is over. I just don't know.
So it's okay. While you are speaking, you will expand. There's a confidence you should have. Right? So it's just like talking to somebody. Treat it as you are talking to a friend. So you are talking about a certain topic. You have to explain yourself. You have to convince the friend about it. Yeah. So suppose your school has come up with some sports and everyone thinks that it is very risky. What would you do to tell your coach that no, we don't want to join this? The coach will say, give me 5 reasons why you don't want to join. So what would you do? You will start writing and thinking, okay, what should I say? You will speak on the spur of the moment. So that's how you treat these questions. So those 15 seconds that are given to you is just to think about, at least to get an idea of what you want to say. It's not exactly you are writing down the points, writing reasons and examples. That doesn't happen in 15 seconds. At least you can think about one point and a vague idea of the second. So by the time you start speaking, first point is you have finished. Second point, when you begin, your brain starts thinking, okay, what next? Right? So that's how you are going to deal with it. Anybody else who wants to talk on this? Shreyas, do you have any points?
Yes, ma'am.
Or even if you don't have points, doesn't matter.
I think that schools should allow
Okay, now
teams.
we've already come across the template. Yeah. So I expect you to begin properly. So I think that Or what would be better?
I believe that.
I believe that, or according to me. Hmm? Okay, go on.
That schools have team for sports that might carry a risk of serious injury because these sports can teach a valuable lesson. Firstly, these sports can teach a valuable lesson to the students like teamwork and discipline.
Mhm.
And secondly, the students can get can learn to handle risk, but the school should also uh, take steps to mitigate the risk of injuries by using proper equipments and giving proper coaching.
So that was good enough. If you see, you actually did have 2 points. Hmm? Now, another thing, when you begin the answer, maybe you are not sure of 2 points, right? So you can begin your answer that I believe that this, and instead of saying because of 2 points, you go on with your points, and at the end, you can say, I believe so because of the 2 points, of these 2 points. And again, don't use the word above. Above and following are not to be used when you are speaking, right? Because usually what happens is I've seen many students when they are speaking, they end their answer with because of the above 2 reasons. Yeah, that's only in writing, not in speaking. Now let's see what the response example is. In my opinion, schools should still allow sports that carry that risk despite the risk of serious physical injury. First of all, it is not the responsibility of schools to completely eliminate all risk from the lives of students. Otherwise, they would have to abolish any science labs that use chemicals or sharp objects because they pose a potential threat to safety. Yeah. So if you look at the explanation, the student wasn't able to come up with an explanation, linked it to something else. That's absolutely okay. Hmm? Furthermore, students and their families should be allowed to make personal decisions about what kind of activities they are participating in, despite risk, as long as they are not simultaneously endangering unknowing bystanders. Yeah. So the point is there, and it has been twisted a little also, which is absolutely fine. Therefore, I firmly believe that schools should allow students to make decisions about what sport they will play, even when the sports contain some serious risks. Yeah. So the student has gone on to the choice that the school may offer, but it is up to you whether you want to do it or not. So there can be different ways of dealing with the answer as long as you have 2 points and you can explain your 2 points. Yeah. Now we have another question type, which is disadvantages, advantage, and disadvantage. Yeah. So here also your opinion comes in, and you talk about both sides, the advantages and the disadvantages. So now here it is important. There may be some questions which ask you only about the advantages, or maybe the disadvantages, or you may have questions which are talking about both. So if your question has an and in the middle, then you talk about both sides. And again, you give your examples with explanations. So let's look at this question. Should universities allow students to watch TV in their dormitories? What is your opinion and why? What are the advantages and disadvantages of watching TV in the dormitories, which include reasons and examples to support your response? So this is actually an expansion of your agree, disagree, or opinion question, right? So here you will begin with your opinion, and then you will go on to, so you begin with your opinion, and then you go on to the first point of advantage, second point of disadvantage. Now that will also depend upon what your opinion is. Now in this question, should universities allow students to watch TV in their dormitories? If you think that yes, they should be allowed, what would you talk about? You would talk about the advantages first, because that is what you are supporting. If you think that TV should not be allowed in the dormitories, you begin with the disadvantages. So you will put the order according to what your opinion is. So you can stress on the fact better, right? Anyone who wants to try this?
Ma'am, we have to say 1 point for advantage and 1 point for disadvantage.
Right. So you can put in the contrasting transitions. Say you begin with the advantage and you think that yes, you should be allowed. So you talk about the advantages, and then you can say, however, there are disadvantages such as this. Yeah. So it should be clear which one is your advantage, which one is your disadvantage, and you begin with what your opinion is. So if you think that disadvantages are more, begin with disadvantages. When you say that students should not be allowed TV because there are lots of disadvantages, and then you can go on to, however, there are a few advantages. Okay, so anyone prepared?
Can I?
Yes, Shreyans, please do.
In my opinion, I think that universities should allow students to watch TV in their dormitories because it can be a source of entertainment and relaxation. It can also promote bonding amongst peers. However, there are some disadvantages like getting distracted from studies and living a lifestyle which is sedentary and not moving around.
Okay, now when you spoke, how did you begin?
In my opinion,
You began with I think, and then you went on to in my opinion. Yeah, so you have to be conscious about using only one thing. So either you say in my opinion or I think that. Yeah. Now when opinion is asked for, then you will not begin with I think that. Yeah. You, to save time, you will begin with your opinion. In my opinion, this, so it's clearly like you have asked a question about opinion. I'm talking about opinion. Or according to me can also be used. Yeah, so any of those opinion ones can be used. So we have a second question here. Okay, anyone else wanted to speak on this? No one? Bored of it? Okay, let's go on to the second one. Should young children spend a great amount of their time practicing sports? Yeah, great amount of time practicing sports. This, what is your opinion and why? Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of this. With specific reasons and examples to support your answer. So you can prepare. Okay, let's have your responses. Who wants to speak? Revati? Revati, are you in? Yeah, I think Revati's
Sorry,
got
ma'am.
something.
Just a minute. I'm plugging in my charger.
Okay. Okay, Krishna, you can respond to this.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. According to me, no, children should not spend a great amount of time practicing their sports, because only focusing on sports, the student may miss out on many other priorities like studying. However, practicing sports regularly will activate our mind and also keep our body in good shape. Thus, practicing sport in great amount of time is sorry.
So
I don't know how to
you
end.
weren't able to expand well enough. You
Yes,
spoke for just about 25 seconds.
yes, ma'am.
So you can expand those with examples.
Hmm.
You had your points. You needed to expand with examples. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Who else wants to speak on this? Revati, do you want to speak?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, actually, like, it's kind of same, but okay.
Doesn't matter. I want to see how you express yourself.
In
The
my
points may be
opinion,
same.
yeah,
Your examples may be different.
okay, ma'am.
Okay, you can begin.
In my opinions, young children should spend their great amount of time practicing sports because it would develop quality skills like teamwork, leadership, and management, which might be useful in future for in their jobs, in their professional life. But I think exclusive focus on sports will lead the children to miss out on other important things like studying and spending time with parents and im sorry, and spending time with parents. So in conclusion, I think children should not exclusively focus on practicing sports.
That was good enough. Now, since we move on to the template first. Now, in a advantage disadvantage question, first of all, yes, you people have dealt with it well enough. So you can begin with there are certainly advantages and disadvantages to this, to tell them that okay, this is, I know this is a advantage disadvantage question. Or you can say there are pros and cons, or upsides and downsides, yeah, or benefits and drawbacks. So when you are dealing with a advantage disadvantage question, you will not begin straight away with according to me. You will begin with there are both advantages and disadvantages, or there are both benefits and drawbacks of this. Or now another thing, remember, when you say advantages and disadvantages, what is the preposition that comes in? You won't use of, you will use to. If you say upsides and downsides, then you use to. Benefits and drawbacks, of, not to. Right? Advantages and disadvantages, you will not say of. Advantages and disadvantages, to. We usually use of, but that is incorrect. Pros and cons, you can use when you say there are pros and cons of. Or you can also say there are positive and negative aspects of this. So here again, aspects of. Yeah. So, for example, living in a small city has pros and cons, or living in a small city has upsides and downsides. So, if you have a particular topic then you can use the upside and downside advantages and disadvantages along with it. Yeah. So you begin with, there are certainly pros and cons of, or then when you're talking about pros and cons, then when you state your opinion, in my opinion, the pros are more. So if you have said the pros are more, then you can go on to the beginning with the advantage. First of all, one advantage is, yeah. So about, yeah, 1 to 3 sentences to, and then when you're talking about the disadvantage, begin with a contrasting transition. However, a major disadvantages. So it should be clear from what you are saying whether it is an advantage or a disadvantage, right? Or you can say the pros are, first of all, the pro is, or the con is. So, but to keep it simple, I think keeping to advantage, disadvantage is better, but you will never go wrong. The question is in front of you, those words are already in your mind. And is the easiest, they're the easiest phrases to use. Yeah. Now, or you can also say on the flip side, instead of however, a major disadvantage is that, and if you haven't expressed your opinion in the beginning, you can express your opinion at the end. Yeah. Overall, though, I guess it's better to, and you state your opinion. Or you can say overall, though, I think, then you go on to your opinion. Yeah. So I believe that it is beneficial to this, but there can also be some disadvantages. Firstly, however, then the second point will be, however, I believe that there are disadvantages as well. So you are beginning with the benefit. I believe it is beneficial. And then you go on to your disadvantage. Yeah. So here, what do you do? What this example is doing? Beginning with the opinion. So once you have expressed your opinion, you go on to supporting it, and then you go on to however I believe that. Right? And ending. So I believe that there are disadvantages and disadvantages to this particular thing. So if you go through an example, just many students are asked to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this? So even if they don't ask your opinion, you can begin with whatever you think is better. Yeah. So you can begin with your opinion. I believe that it is beneficial to evaluate the professors at the end of the semester, but there can also be some disadvantages. So opinion stated, and because it is not just an opinion question, you are telling them, but yes, there are disadvantages. First, since superior staff can't sit on every class, they should take input from the students on how the class went. Students are likely to be honest in their reviews, so the professor can also learn from the mistakes. Yeah. So the point and expansion. Then it comes to however, the other side of the story. However, I believe that there are disadvantages as well, and then go on to explain the disadvantage. Because student knows that they will receive a failing grade, they may be dishonest in the review just to spite the professor. They may say that the professor wasn't fair, even if that isn't true. It can be harmful to the professor and detrimental to the grade. So I believe that there are advantages and disadvantages to asking students to evaluate the process. So this response began with opinion, moved on to the first opinion to support what he or she was saying. Second point is contrast, and then sum up the whole thing with there are advantages and disadvantages. Right? Got it? You'll be able to do this. So here you have to be very careful that it is not just an opinion question, but it is an advantage and disadvantage question. And there could also be a last question that which is not very common, discussing a preference between two options. So, and why you chose it. So this is the person. Here you can begin with personally, I believe, and then move on to is better than. So here also you are comparing two things. In my opinion, it seems to be better than. So this is more or less a preference type of question where you choose between two situations. And the template remains the same. In my opinion, is the safest template to use in this case. Or if it is a clear preference question, then I would prefer. Then you explain first example, first point, second point, and then you finish up. But the transitions should be there. And if you have your third reason, you can use it. So more or less in any of the situations, you are talking about your side, your opinion, and then going on to explaining the other side. Yeah. So in any preference or comparison question, what are you doing? You're using words like easier, better, stronger, more convenient, comparative words. Point out the problem with the other option. And discuss the flaw of the other option if you want to strengthen your side of the story. And yes, always use I, because these are personal questions, personal preference questions, personal opinion questions. So I feel, I believe, I think, avoid repeating. And that comes with practice. I'm harping on practice all the time. You'll be thinking, ma'am has gone crazy. But yes, practice is the only thing that you can do with these type of questions. And how do you end? As a result, consequently, moreover, therefore, or if it is a contrast, however. And yes, this is very important. Don't use the exact words from the prompt. Always paraphrase. Whatever the question is saying, say the same thing, but in a different way. Right? And yes, idioms are not to be used. Now you can, these are all there in your, so we've done the strategies, we've done all the types of questions for independent tasks. Now you can get back to your PDFs or your book and start practicing. Now instructions will be given to you. These instructions, you can go through them once when you are practicing. And so that for the exam, you can focus on your strategies instead of focusing on the instructions given to you. Yeah. So for homework, you will do at least these questions on practice set 1. Which school would you rather attend? What type of question is this? Yes, Revati, you can unmute yourself.
Ma'am, preference. No.
Preference question. Now, how about this? This is clearly advantage, disadvantage question. Yeah. Let's look at this. Some students like to study, others prefer this. What are the advantages and disadvantages of studying at home for an exam? So you will be clearly talking about something that you think is better and then go on to the other side with a contrasting word. So that's it for today then. You can do these questions from your study material. And after this, we will go on to the integrated speaking tasks. So now it is up to you to practice. You've got a whole lot of questions in your book. There are thousands of questions if you search the net. So even if you practice 5 questions daily, beginning with say 3 questions, go on to 5 questions, it will be enough. Okay. So we'll meet on Monday. And please don't miss your classes, because we'll be having just one session each for the other tasks. So if you miss one session, you won't know how to deal with that. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Yes, I am.
I just had a doubt.
Mhm.
So the preparation time and the response time. So are
Mhm.
they given like for the timer they will show 15 seconds. Then
Yeah.
after that 45 seconds for the it will show like that.
Yeah. It is.
That
So they will tell you that now you get 15 seconds to prepare. 15 seconds are over, a beep comes. Then they will tell you, now you get 45 seconds to respond. Start speaking after the beep. The instructions will be given to you and you have to follow the instructions. So when you are practicing, you set your timer accordingly. 50 seconds to prepare. Moment the timer is over, put on the other time.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I do is I put on a 15-second timer for preparation time, then speaking time 45 seconds. So you will know exactly how much less you spoke or how much more you spoke. You can adjust your speaking speed and points accordingly. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna, Revati. All disappeared.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.